Hey guys, it's Jones with Pool Warehouse, and today we're going to teach you how to install a skimmer on a steel wall in-ground pool. Now, there's really only 3 different types of skimmers you can put in your pool. Now, this particular one is a 1084, and all that means is it's got that square front. Now, you have a 1085, and it has a rectangle front that's a little bit wider, sometimes called a wide mouth skimmer. And then there's the Aqua Genie. Now, the Aqua Genie has a return built underneath, and it pushes water back to the floor of the pool. If you want to check out the Aqua Genie, we have a separate video on that. But we're going to show you how this particular skimmer is installed into a steel wall pool. Hayward makes 2 different colors. You've got white and gray. This customer chose gray, and this is the square front, 1084, and inside you've got your skimmer basket and some instructions in there, but go ahead and set that aside. Next, we've got your gaskets, you've got your face plate, and you've got some plugs for your different lines that you may or may not use on your skimmer. And finally, we've got your skimmer cover and your extension collar. This extension collar is adjustable, and it'll help you set the height depending on which coping profile you chose, so that way it ends up flush with your deck. And finally, this is separate from the box, but with your small parts, you'll find your skimmer shim kit. Now, it's important you hang on to this. We'll show you how to use this in a minute, but definitely get your hands on this and set it aside with your skimmer. Now, this video is designed to show you how to install a Hayward skimmer in a steel wall pool. If you have a polymer, it's a little bit different, and we can talk to you about the differences there. The instructions that come with the skimmer, take those, toss them. We're going to show you how to do it the way the manufacturer recommends, and that's Hydra Pools. And what they've done is they've made this skimmer to be through wall. So that means it's going to go all the way through the wall, and that eliminates the need for a gasket on the back side of the panel. I love the way Hydra Pools has designed their panel system because you don't have potentials for leaks on the back side of the panel. It's a better design. Definitely follow these instructions if you're putting one in a Hydra Pool kit. As we mentioned, your kit comes with a shim kit. Now, this shim kit is designed to help install this skimmer, and the reason for that is we don't want it to stick through any more than 1/8 of an inch. Now, if you can tell, without the shim kit, it's going to stick probably about 1/2 inch, maybe to 3/4 of an inch forward. What that shim kit is going to help us do is recess that back about 1/8 of an inch. And let me show you what comes in that kit. You've got 3 shims, and we'll show you how those are installed. In addition, we've got some mounting screws that come in the bag. Now, these mounting screws are what we're going to use to mount the skimmer. The screws that come from Hayward, don't use those. We're going to use these. They're actually a little bit better designed, and we'll show you how this whole thing goes together next. Now, we're going to go ahead and install this shim. Make sure you remember the channel goes against the back of the panel, and you're going to take your screw and run it through the front of the panel, right through that first hole in your shim. And then you're going to marry that up. Let me get this. You're going to need a second set of hands, but you're going to marry that up with the back of your skimmer. Now, after you get your screw in, next you're going to put your washer on, followed by your lock washer and your nut. Now we're going to go all the way around, and we're going to stick our shims on the back side of the panel, but like so, and just follow all the bolt holes all the way around the front of that skimmer. Once you get your bolts tightened down across the face, you're going to put a piece of duct tape just across the heads of those bolts. Now, in the normal installation process, the next step would be putting your wall foam on. Then after you get your wall foam, you would put your gasket on. Then the liner would go next. Once the liner's dropped, you would have another gasket that would go on top of the liner. And then your faceplate goes ultimately on top of all 3 of those. Now, we have a great liner installation video that shows you how a liner is installed and how these gaskets go in. Definitely check out that video, but set these aside, hold on to them so you don't lose them. They're going to go on when you're ready for your liner install. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at the different fittings that come in the bag. And we've got a plug, we've got a 1.5" reducer, another plug, and a butterfly valve, and then an individual bolt for your butterfly valve. Now, the butterfly valve, we don't recommend plumbing your skimmers in series. If you do want to plumb them in series, this will help reduce that flow rate. We don't recommend that. We recommend you plumb your skimmers individually. That way you have complete control over the skimmer. So don't run those in series, run the lines separately. That'll give you more control. So go ahead and set that butterfly valve aside. Next, you've got an 1.5-inch reducer. If you're gonna use 1.5-inch plumbing, you will need this reducer. The bottom of your skimmer has 2 ports. Both are 2-inch openings. If you want to do 1.5 inch, you'll plug one and you'll use this to reduce down to that 1.5 inch plumbing. Regardless, you're gonna need to plug one of those holes, pick whichever one you want to plug and put this one in it. The last plug is for your 1.5 inch reducer. I don't know why anybody would want to plug that or even put that in if they're not going to use it, but you have it just in case. Now looking down into the skimmer, we're gonna pull out the basket and you've got those 2 openings we mentioned, and those are both 2-inch plumbing lines. Now if you want to use 1.5 inch, this is when you would go ahead and put in your reducer and then plug one of the lines. Now it doesn't really matter which line you plug, but ultimately you will be plugging one of the lines. Go ahead and stick that in, one you don't plan to use, like so. Now, if you do want to run your skimmers in series, you would want to screw your butterfly valve right here. And what that does is it gives you the ability to control the flow rate and helps increase pressure from one skimmer to another by moving that little butterfly valve back and forth. This is why we recommend running your skimmers separately from each other. That way you don't have to do anything like this to control pressure or to control flow rate. You simply will use the valve and the pump. Run each one separately. It takes a little bit more time, but it's a much better finished end result for controlling how much flow your skimmer actually has and how much suction it actually has. Now, you do want to make sure you plug one of the openings, and when you put that plug in, you'll just screw it in. It's not really difficult, but you definitely want to make sure you plug one of them. But we recommend anytime you're using a fitting, make sure you use quality Teflon tape. Make sure you get that all over the threads before you screw that fitting down into the skimmer. We don't want any potential leak points. Now we're gonna go ahead and show you how to install the skimmer extension collar. And if you'll notice, this collar has a rib right along the front. Now that rib lines up with an indentation on the skimmer itself. And what you're gonna do is line that up so that it fits perfectly. Now there's other ribs along the side, but those are just to create friction to help hold this in place. So let's line up that main rib and then get it locked down. Now this is a 3.5-inch extension collar. What you want to do is get this lined up perfectly with your coping. That way it's even with the top of your deck. Depending on your coping profile, you'll want to make sure you get a piece on and measure that out. Now when you're ready to pour your concrete, you're going to pull a string from the top of your coping to the top of the form in the back of your deck. So you're gonna have a form back there that retains the concrete for your deck. You're gonna pull that string from the top of the coping all the way to the top of that form. That way you can make sure this is gonna be level with the top of your deck. Once you get it level, go ahead and take some duct tape and duct tape that into place all the way around. That way it doesn't move as you're getting ready to pour your concrete. All right guys, we've got this skimmer completely installed. We've got the lid where we want it. We've got duct tape across the bolt holes in the front. If you're installing a skimmer in a Hydra pool wall panel, this is definitely the way you want to do that. If you have questions about the installation or if you'd like to see more videos, visit the bottom of any page at poolwarehouse.com. Under resources, we have pool kit installation videos. Check out those videos. They'll definitely help along every step of the process.